The night sky above Seoul glowed with city lights that dimmed the stars. In the Earth Defense Force headquarters, Han Choi sat alone at his monitoring station. His eyes were tired after 12 hours of watching the same screens. Nothing unusual ever happened during his shifts. Until today. A strange pattern flashed across his screen. At first he thought it was a mistake. He rubbed his eyes and looked again. The pattern continued. This can't be right, Han said to himself. He checked his equipment. Everything worked properly. The signal came from deep space beyond Mars. It moved in a way that natural objects did not. Hanul's heart beat faster. After years of searching the stars, they might have found something. He pressed the emergency alert button. Within 30 minutes, Commander Tae-ho Kim rushed into the control room. His uniform was wrinkled, and his short black hair stood up in places. He had clearly been sleeping when the call came. "This better be important, Han-ul," Tae-ho said. Han-ul pointed at his screen. "Sir, these signals show objects moving toward Earth. They change direction in ways that asteroids or space debris cannot. I think they might be ships." Tae-ho leaned closer to the screen. His tired expression changed to one of concern. "How many objects?" he asked. "7 large ones, sir. And they will reach Earth orbit in about 6 hours. Tae-ho straightened up. "Call June Park at the research center and get me Dae-sung Lee. We need to prepare for all possibilities." The room filled with activity as more staff arrived. Some looked excited, others scared. This was the moment they had trained for but never expected to face. June Park was already awake when his phone rang. The lead xenobiologist often worked late into the night. His small lab at the Global Research Center was filled with plants from around the world. He studied how life adapted to different environments. This knowledge might help understand alien life, if they ever found any. When Hanul explained the situation, June almost dropped his phone. "I'll be there in 20 minutes, he said. As he drove to the Defense Force headquarters, June's mind raced with questions. Were these truly aliens? Would they be friendly? Or was Earth in danger? By morning, the news had spread worldwide. People gathered around screens in homes, offices, and public squares. Some prayed, others partied like it was their last day alive. Most just watched and waited. In the command center, Tae-ho met with his team. June Park studied the signal data. Dae-sung Lee, the military strategist, planned for defense scenarios. Hanul continued to track the approaching objects. "They've changed course again," Hanul announced. "They're spreading out, heading toward different continents." Tae-ho frowned. "That's not a peaceful approach pattern. We should alert all defense forces," Dae-sung suggested. His face showed no emotion, but his voice was tight. "This looks like standard invasion tactics." Tae-ho nodded and gave the order. Around the world, military units moved into position. Fighter jets prepared for takeoff. Missile defense systems activated. June looked troubled. "We should try to communicate with them first." "We've been sending welcome messages on all frequencies," Hanul said. "They don't answer." The objects entered Earth's atmosphere at 2:18 p.m. They slowed dramatically, confirming they were controlled craft. Each headed to a different location: North America, South America, Europe, Africa, Australia, and 2 in Asia. The one approaching Korea landed in a remote mountain area. Tae-ho immediately sent drones to investigate. The drone cameras showed a large metal pod about the size of a bus. Its surface was smooth and dark. For several hours, nothing happened. Then, as night fell, the pod opened. In the command center, everyone watched the drone footage in silence. From the pod emerged creatures unlike anything they had seen before. They walked on 4 legs but had 2 smaller arms near the front. Their bodies looked partly mechanical, with metal parts joining flesh. Each was about the size of a large dog but moved with frightening speed. "What are they?" Tae-ho asked. June shook his head. "Not natural life forms. They appear engineered for a purpose." The creatures spread out from the pod, moving in organized patterns. They seemed to be mapping the area. When one encountered a small deer, it attacked without hesitation. The deer was torn apart in seconds. "They're hunters," Daesung said quietly. Similar reports came from the other landing sites. The creatures behaved the same way everywhere. They hunted local wildlife and avoided populated areas. For now. 3 days later, June Park examined the first captured specimen. A military team had managed to trap one without destroying it. The creature had fought so violently that it damaged itself beyond repair, but its body remained intact for study. In his lab, June carefully cut into the creature's flesh. What he found confirmed his fears. "These are war creatures," he explained to Taeho and Daesung. "Look at these organs. This one produces strong acid. This one can generate electric shocks. And their muscles are 3 times stronger than they need to be." "Could they have evolved naturally?" Taeho asked. "No. These are designed. Every part of them serves a purpose. They were made for fighting and killing." Daesung pointed to the mechanical parts. "And these? What do they do?" "They appear to be control systems," June said. "Someone or something is directing these creatures remotely." Taeho's face darkened. "So the real invaders haven't shown themselves yet." Within a week, the creatures had multiplied. Each pod contained materials for the creatures to make more of themselves. They spread through rural areas, attacking farms and small villages. Military forces fought back, but the creatures adapted quickly to human weapons. Around the world, major cities prepared for attack. People stockpiled food and supplies. Governments declared states of emergency. In the Seoul Command Center, Hanul made another discovery. "Commander, I've detected new signals," he said. "Much farther out in space, at least 3 ships larger than the pods. They're just watching." Taeho looked at the data. "So the real invasion hasn't even started." "I don't think this is an invasion," June said, surprising everyone. "Look at the pattern. The creatures avoid major population centers. They test our defenses but don't press the advantage when they find weaknesses. This feels more like an experiment." Daesung finished the thought. "They're testing their weapons on us." The room fell silent as the meaning sank in. Earth wasn't facing an invasion. It was being used as a testing ground. Humans were lab rats in someone else's war game. Taeho stood straighter, his jaw set with determination. "Then we need to show them they chose the wrong planet for their experiment." In space, the alien observers watched with interest. The test had begun exactly as planned. The war creatures performed well in Earth's environment. But the observers had made one critical miscalculation. They had severely underestimated the humans. 3 weeks had passed since the war creatures first emerged from their pods. The situation had grown worse. The creatures adapted to Earth's environments faster than anyone expected. They now roamed forests, mountains, and even desert regions. In Sid, a secure underground lab near Seoul, June Park worked day and night studying the captured specimens. Dark circles had formed under his eyes from lack of sleep. His lab coat had coffee stains from the many cups he drank to stay awake. "They adapt so quickly," June said to Commander Taeho, who had come to check on his progress. "Each new generation shows changes that help them survive better in their specific environment." Taeho looked through the thick glass at the living creature held in a reinforced cage. It paced back and forth, its 4 legs moving with unnatural precision. Its eyes tracked their movements. "Can we stop them?" Taeho asked. Before June could answer, the door opened. A woman in a lab coat walked in carrying a tablet computer. Her short black hair was tied back in a small ponytail. "Commander Kim, I'm Sun-Mi Kang from the Robotics Division," she said. "I think I found something important." Sun-Mi showed them her tablet. On the screen was a detailed scan of a war creature's brain. "Look at this structure." She pointed to a small metal object embedded in the brain tissue. "It's not just a control device. It uses quantum entanglement to communicate." Taeho looked confused. "What does that mean?" "It means," June explained, growing excited, "that someone is controlling these creatures instantly from a great distance, even from another star system. Can we block the signal? Taeho asked. Sunmi smiled slightly. Quantum signals can't be blocked in the traditional way, but they can be disrupted. I have some ideas. Taeho nodded. Work together. This could be the break we need. On the battlefield, humans faced growing challenges. Regular weapons could kill the war creatures, but it took too many bullets or too large an explosion. The creatures learned from each encounter, becoming harder to kill each time. Woo Jin-yoon led a special forces team deep in the mountains of northern Korea. They moved quietly through the forest, tracking a group of war creatures. Woo Jin had been a soldier for 15 years, but nothing had prepared him for this enemy. Movement ahead, whispered one of his team members. Woo Jin signaled for everyone to stop. Through his binoculars, he saw something unusual. A larger war creature, different from the others they had encountered. It had additional mechanical parts and moved with more purpose. I think that's a commander unit, Woo Jin said softly. We need to capture it. His team looked at him like he was crazy, but they trusted him. They had trained together for years. The plan was dangerous but simple. They would use specialized nets and electric stunners to disable the creature. Then they would transport it back to base before it could recover. What Woo Jin didn't expect was how intelligent the commander unit would be. As they closed in, it seemed to sense the trap. It made a high-pitched sound that Woo Jin had never heard before. Now! Woo Jin shouted, abandoning stealth. His team acted quickly. The net launcher fired, wrapping the creature in strong fibers. Electric stunners hit it from 3 directions. The creature thrashed violently but couldn't escape. Other war creatures rushed toward them, responding to their commander's call. Get it to the transport now! Woo Jin ordered. 2 team members grabbed the netted creature while the rest provided covering fire. The retreat was chaotic. 2 soldiers were injured, but everyone made it back alive, and they had their prize. The commander unit. In the lab, Jun and Sunmi worked frantically to extract information from the captured commander unit before it could destroy itself. The creature had tried to release acid inside its own body when it realized it was captured, but Sunmi had managed to disable that function. Look at this, Sunmi said, pointing to a small device they had removed from the creature's head. It's a data storage unit, much more advanced than the regular units. With careful work, they connected the device to a computer that was completely isolated from any network. Information appeared on the screen, strange symbols that made no sense to human eyes. Can we translate it? Jun asked. My team is working on it, Sunmi answered. But even without translation, the images tell us something. The screen showed pictures of Earth, taken from space. There were markings on different regions and images of various Earth animals. Then came pictures of humans. The aliens had been studying Earth for some time before they sent the war creatures. Daesung Lee joined them, looking at the images with his analytical eyes. They were planning this for a while, he said. Look at how they marked military bases and population centers. After days of work, the translation program began to make sense of some text. What they learned shocked them all. Earth was selected as a suitable testing ground, Jun read from the translation. Indigenous life forms classified as primitive but potentially dangerous. War creature effectiveness will be measured against native resistance. Taeho slammed his fist on the table. They're using us as practice targets. There's more, Sunmi said. They call this Series Test 7 and mention previous tests on other worlds. What happened to those worlds? Daesung asked quietly. No one wanted to answer that question. In the command center, Hanul continued monitoring communications between the observer ships and the war creatures on Earth. With Sunmi's help, he had managed to detect the quantum signals even though he couldn't decode them all. The pattern changed yesterday, Hanul told Taeho. After we captured the commander unit, there was a spike in signal activity. I think the observers are concerned. Good, Taeho said. That means we surprise them. The door opened, and Woo Jin entered. His arm was bandaged from a wound received during the capture mission. Sir, my team found something else while examining the site where we captured the commander, Woo Jin said. Some kind of supply cache. The creatures were building something. He placed a small metal object on the table. It was unlike any material they had seen before. Sunmi needs to see this, Taeho said. In orbit around Earth, the alien observers watched with growing concern. The test was not proceeding as expected. The primitive humans were showing unexpected resourcefulness. They had captured a commander unit, something that had never happened in previous tests. The lead observer sent a message back to the homeworld. Indigenous resistance exceeding projections. Request permission to accelerate Phase 2. The response came quickly. Permission granted. Deploy enhanced units. The observers did not realize they had made a critical error. By underestimating humans, they had given them time to learn, adapt, and prepare. And humans were proving to be far more dangerous than any test subjects they had encountered before. On Earth, Sunmi made a breakthrough. After studying the quantum control system and the new material Wu Jin had found, she developed a prototype device. It won't block their control signals completely, she explained to Taeho and the others. But it will disrupt them enough to confuse the creatures. How soon can we deploy it? Taeho asked. Give me 1 week, Sunmi replied. For the first time, in weeks, hope appeared on Taeho's face. Perhaps humans had a fighting chance after all. 2 months after the first landings, humans were ready to fight back. The war creatures had spread to every continent, but they had not yet taken over major cities. Their numbers grew daily, and each new generation showed improvements. In the ITO main command center in Seoul, Commander Taeho Kim met with his expanded team. Maps on the wall showed red areas where war creatures controlled territory. Too much of the map was red. The signal jammers are ready, Sunmi Kang announced. She looked tired but proud. We've made 50 devices that can disrupt the quantum control signals within a 5-kilometer radius. Only 50? Dae-sung Lee asked. The military strategist frowned. Making more will take time, Sunmi replied. The materials are hard to find. Then we need to use them wisely, Taeho said. Dae-sung, where should we deploy them for maximum effect? Before Dae-sung could answer, a young man entered the room. He wore glasses and moved with nervous energy. Commander Kim? I'm Min-ho Baek from the Cyber Division, he said. I think I can help with the signal problem. Min-ho placed a laptop on the table. If we connect Sunmi's devices to our satellite network, we can boost the range and create a global disruption. It won't last long, but it will give us a window to strike. Sunmi studied his work, her eyes widening. This could work, she said. We'd need to coordinate the timing perfectly, but it would affect all war creatures at once. Taeho nodded. How long will it take to set up? 3 days, Min-ho said. You have 2, Taeho replied. As the technical team worked, another discovery came from an unexpected source. Hyun Hwang was an environmental scientist who had been studying how Earth's ecosystem reacted to the alien creatures. Hyun arrived at the command center with samples and data. She was small in stature, but spoke with confidence. The war creatures are getting sick, she announced. Everyone looked at her in surprise. Explain, Taeho said. Ha-un displayed microscope images on a screen. Earth bacteria are attacking them. Their bodies aren't designed to resist our microbes. The first generations were fine, but as they adapt to our environment, they become more vulnerable to our diseases. Can we use this? June Park asked, the xenobiologist immediately seeing the potential. I've identified 3 bacteria that affect them most strongly, Ha-un said. If we can deliver these bacteria in concentrated doses, we could disable large groups of war creatures. Taeho looked at his team with new hope in his eyes. We now have 2 weapons they won't expect. Let's use them together. 3 days later, the counteroffensive began. The plan was complex but clear. First, they would activate Min-ho's global signal disruption. Then, Special Forces teams led by Wu Jin would deliver Ha-yun's bacterial weapons at key locations. Finally, military units would attack the confused and weakened war creatures. In the command center, Min-ho sat at his computer, fingers moving rapidly over the keyboard. Sunmi stood beside him, checking the connections to her signal jammers, which had been placed at strategic locations worldwide. All jammers are online, Sunmi reported. Satellite network is ready, Minho added. Taeho looked at the clock. Begin. Countdown. All teams stand by. Around the world, soldiers prepared for battle. They carried new weapons designed by Sunmi that could penetrate the war creature's armor more effectively. Special forces teams carried containers of Hyun's bacterial mixture. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Activate, Taeho ordered. Minho pressed the final key. The screen showed a wave of signal disruption spreading across the global map. It's working, Minho shouted. Quantum signals are breaking down worldwide. On battlefields across the planet, war creatures suddenly stopped moving in coordinated patterns. Some froze in place. Others moved erratically, bumping into each other or walking in circles. Phase 2, Taeho ordered. Deploy bacterial weapons. Woo Jin and his team moved quickly through a forest in northern Korea. They approached a major nest of war creatures. The creatures were disoriented, making strange noises and moving without purpose. They can't talk to their controllers, Woo Jin said to his team. Now's our chance. They set up the bacterial dispersal units around the nest. The devices would release clouds of mist containing Hyun's specially prepared bacteria. Devices set, Woo Jin reported through his radio. Activating now. The units began releasing fine mist that drifted over the confused war creatures. It would take hours for the bacteria to fully affect them, but the process had begun. Similar operations happened at war creature nests worldwide. Phase 3, Taeho ordered. Military units advance. The battle was not easy, but for the first time, humans had the advantage. The war creatures fought as individuals rather than as a coordinated force. Their movements were predictable and they could not adapt to new tactics. By the end of the day, humans had reclaimed significant territory. War creature nests that had seemed impenetrable were now under human control. In the lab, June studied the results of the bacterial attack. The effect is even stronger than we expected, he told Taeho. The bacteria multiply inside them, disrupting their biological systems. How long until they adapt? Taeho asked. They're trying already, June said. But every change they make to resist our bacteria makes them less effective as weapons. They're in a no-win situation. In orbit, the alien, observers watched in alarm. Their experiment was failing. The primitive humans had found ways to counter their war creatures that no previous test subject had discovered. The lead observer sent an urgent message. Indigenous resistance has developed effective countermeasures. War creatures experiencing widespread system failures. Request permission to terminate test and retrieve remaining units. The reply came. Request denied. Continue observation. Increase war creature production. This result is unexpected. We need more data. The observers reluctantly complied, sending commands to the remaining functioning pods to accelerate production of new war creatures. But they knew something had gone very wrong with their experiment. Back at the command center, the team celebrated their first major victory, but Taeho reminded them that the war was far from over. The signal disruption won't work the same way twice, Minho warned. They'll adapt their quantum frequencies, and they'll try to make their war creatures resistant to our bacteria, Haon added. Then we need to keep innovating, Taeho said. Sunmi, how is the reverse engineering of their technology going? Sunmi smiled. Very well. We've learned how to replicate some of their materials. Give me 2 more weeks and we'll have weapons that can match theirs. Daesung looked at the map, where some red areas had turned blue, showing reclaimed human territory. We should push our advantage while we have it. Hit them hard before they can recover. Taeho nodded. Agreed. Woojin, can your teams capture one of their production pods intact? We can try, Woojin said. What are you thinking? If we can control their production facilities, we can turn their war creatures against them, Taeho explained. The team looked at him with new respect. Humans weren't just defending anymore. They were taking the fight to the enemy. In space, the alien observers felt something they rarely experienced. Worry. They had made a serious error in judgment. Humans weren't primitive test subjects. They were dangerous opponents, and they were just getting started. 6 months had passed since the war creatures first landed on Earth. The global situation had changed dramatically. Humans had reclaimed nearly half of the territory once controlled by the alien forces. But the war was far from over. In a large conference room in Seoul, representatives from nations around the world gathered to coordinate their efforts. Commander Tae-ho Kim stood at the front, presenting the latest battle reports. Beside him stood a woman in a formal suit who had not been part of the original team. "This is Jiho Shin," Tae-ho introduced her. "She has been appointed as our diplomatic coordinator." Jiho nodded to the group. "My job is to make sure all our resources are used efficiently. No more working separately. We face this threat together." Some representatives looked doubtful. Old rivalries and distrust were hard to overcome. But the alien threat had forced humans to cooperate in ways they never had before. "The aliens have changed their tactics," Tae-ho continued. "They now create war creatures that are resistant to our bacterial weapons, and they use new frequency patterns that make our signal jammers less effective." "So we're losing our advantage?" asked one of the representatives. "No," Tae-ho said firmly. "We're gaining new ones." "Sunmi, please explain." Sunmi Kang stepped forward. She now led a large team of engineers who worked on alien technology. "We have successfully reverse-engineered key components from the war creatures. Our new weapons can target their control systems directly." She displayed images of new human weapons that incorporated alien technology. "These are already in production." June Park spoke next. "The aliens are making their war creatures resistant to our bacteria, but this makes them slower and less effective in combat. Every change they make has a cost." The meeting continued with reports from around the world. Woo Jin-yoon had led successful raids against production pods. Dae-sung Lee had developed new tactics that confused the war creatures. Minho Bayek had improved his signal disruption technology. As the others discussed technical details, Ji-ho noticed a woman sitting quietly in the back of the room taking notes. She hadn't spoken during the meeting. After the meeting ended, Ji-ho approached her. "You're new to the team," she said. The woman looked up. "Yoon Kyung-song, I'm a psychologist. Commander Kim asked me to observe the aliens' behavior patterns." "Psychologist, you mean you're studying how the aliens think?" Yoon Kyung nodded. "Yes. Understanding their psychology gives us another advantage." Later that day, Yoon Kyung presented her findings to the core team in a smaller meeting room. "The aliens are remarkably consistent in their actions," she explained. "They follow patterns that never change. When we do something unexpected, they take exactly 4.3 hours to respond." "That seems like a disadvantage for them," Tae-ho said. "It is. I believe they lack creativity. They have advanced technology but limited imagination. They can't improvise like humans can." Dae-sung nodded slowly. "That explains why my unusual tactics work so well. They can't adapt to something they haven't seen before." "Exactly," Yoon Kyung said. "And there's more. They seem unable to understand that different human groups can act independently. They always expect a centralized response." "We can use that," Tae-ho said, already thinking of new strategies. Minho worked in his lab, surrounded by computers and alien technology. For weeks he had been trying to hack into the alien communication network. The quantum signals were unlike any human technology, but Minho was determined. "Found you," he whispered as his screen displayed a stream of alien data. He had managed to intercept communications between the observer ships and the war creatures. He immediately called Tae-ho. "Commander, I've broken into their network. I can see their commands before they're sent to the war creatures." "Can you alter the commands?" Tae-ho asked. "Not yet. But I can predict what they'll do next, and maybe soon I can send false commands." This breakthrough changed the course of the war. With advanced knowledge of alien plans, humans could prepare defenses or set traps. The aliens never realized their communications were compromised. Woo Jin led his team through the rainforest in Brazil. They moved silently, approaching one of the largest production pods on Earth. Intelligence suggested this pod was different from others. "Target in sight," Wu Jin whispered into his radio. Through his binoculars, he could see the massive podunk war creatures patrolled around it, but they moved in predictable patterns. His team carried Sun Mi's latest weapons and Minho's portable signal jammers. They also had a new device that could potentially take control of the pod's systems. Team. 2 in position, came a voice through his radio. Another team had circled to the opposite side of the pod. Begin operation, Wu Jin ordered. The signal jammers activated first, causing the war creatures to become disoriented. Then both teams fired the new weapons, which disabled rather than killed the creatures. They moved quickly to the pod, attaching Minho's control device to its external panel. The device glowed green, indicating success. Control established, Wu Jin reported. The pod is ours. In labs around the world, scientists studied captured war creatures and technology. They learned how the aliens had created their biological weapons and began developing defenses. Haiyun Huang made another important discovery. Earth's microbiome isn't just attacking the war creatures, she explained to June. It's altering them. Some of the newest generation are showing signs of adapting to live in harmony with our ecosystem rather than to fight. The aliens didn't account for that, June said. Their weapons are becoming part of our world. In orbit, the alien observers faced a crisis. Their experiment had gone terribly wrong. The humans were not only defeating the war creatures but learning to use alien technology against them. The test subjects have captured a primary production unit, one observer reported. They are accessing our command protocols. Impossible, the lead observer responded. Their technology is too primitive. Evidence suggests otherwise. They have demonstrated unexpected adaptability and innovation. The lead observer sent another message to their homeworld. Test compromised. Human. Resistance exceeds all projections. War creatures suffering widespread systems failure. Request immediate mission termination. The response was delayed, suggesting confusion or disagreement among their superiors. Finally it came. Request denied. Continue observation. This outcome provides valuable data. The observers could not understand why their leaders wanted to continue a failed experiment. They did not realize that their civilization had never encountered a species like humans before. The data from this failure was too valuable to abandon. Back on Earth, Jiho organized a global coordination center where representatives from all nations worked together. Old enemies now shared information and resources. The alien threat had united humanity in ways that seemed impossible before. Yun Kyung continued studying alien behavior patterns. They're becoming desperate, she told Taeho. Their actions show increasing rigidity. They keep trying the same failed approaches with only minor variations. That's good news for us, Taeho said. Yes, but they're also producing war creatures. Faster than before, they're choosing quantity over quality. Taeho nodded. A final push before they give up? I think so. But there's something else, Yun Kyung hesitated. Based on their communication patterns, I believe they're reporting to someone else. Someone who won't let them stop this experiment despite the failures. Taeho looked troubled by this news. Then we need to send a message not just to the observers but to whoever is giving them orders. Minho joined them, excited about his latest breakthrough. I think I can do that. I've found a way to send messages through their quantum network. We could speak directly to their leaders. For the first time since the war began, humans had a chance to end the conflict through communication rather than combat. But first, they would have to survive the aliens' desperate final offensive. 1 year had passed since the first alien pods landed on Earth. The war had changed both the planet and humanity. Cities had been damaged, wild areas transformed, and millions of lives lost. But humans had not only survived, they had learned, adapted, and grown stronger. In the main command center in Seoul, the core team gathered for what they hoped would be their final major operation. The room hummed with energy and purpose. The aliens have gathered their remaining forces at 7 main locations, Dae-sung Lee explained, pointing to glowing spots on the world map. Their largest command center is here, in the Amazon rainforest. Taeho, Kim studied the map. His face showed the strain of the past year, but his eyes remained determined. That's where we'll strike. If we capture their primary command center, we can end this war. My team has prepared the necessary equipment, Sun Kang said. She now led the largest technology division on Earth, combining human innovation with reverse-engineered alien tech. We can not only shut down their control systems, but take them over. Minho Beck nodded. And I've finalized the communication system. Once we control their command center, we can send a message directly to the observer ships and beyond. Jiho. Shin, who had united the world's governments in a way no diplomat had managed before, asked the key question, "What will we say to them?" All eyes turned to Yoon Kyung Song, the psychologist who had spent months analyzing alien behavior patterns. "We need to show them three things," Yoon Kyung said. "Our strength, our unity, and our willingness to negotiate. They respect power. They cannot comprehend our diversity, and they have never faced a species that could talk back to them." Taeho nodded. "Then let's give them all three. The operation begins tomorrow." Dawn broke over the Amazon rainforest. The alien command center, a massive structure that had grown from the original pod, stood in a cleared area. War creatures patrolled, in predictable patterns, their movements mechanical and precise. Woo Jin-yoon and his special forces teams approached from multiple directions. They had become experts at avoiding detection by the war creatures. Each soldier carried weapons designed by Sunmi, combining human ingenuity with alien technology. "All teams in position," Woo Jin reported through his secure communications device. From a forward base camp several kilometers away, Taeho gave the order. "Begin Operation Final Stand." The first phase activated Minho's most powerful signal, disruption system yet. It didn't just confuse the war creatures, it froze them completely. The quantum control signals were not just blocked, but reversed, causing a feedback loop in the creatures' control systems. Phase 1 successful, Minho reported, watching the data stream on his computer. "War creatures immobilized. You have 30 minutes before they adapt." Woo Jin's teams moved quickly, eliminating any war creatures that remained active and approaching the command center. Unlike the pods, this structure had grown into a small fortress with multiple layers of defense. "Approaching main entrance," Woo Jin reported, deploying Sunmi's key. The key was a device that mimicked the alien's own control signals. It sent commands to the door mechanisms, tricking them into opening. The massive doors slid apart, revealing the interior of the command center. "We're in," Woo Jin said. Inside, they found what they had expected from their intelligence. A central control room filled with alien technology. There were no alien beings. Everything was automated or controlled remotely from the observer ships. Sunmi had prepared them well. Her team had studied captured alien tech for months, learning its functions and weaknesses. The special forces placed devices at key points throughout the facility, each one designed to interface with the alien systems. "Devices planted." Woo Jin confirmed. "Ready for Phase 2. In the forward base, Sunmi activated her control system. The screens in front of her filled with alien data streams that her software now translated into human language. "Connection established," she announced. "I have access to their command protocols. Beginning override sequence." Her fingers flew over the keyboard as she implemented the code that she and Minho had developed together. It was a masterpiece of programming, combining human creativity with alien logic. "Override successful," she finally said, leaning back with a smile of relief. "The command center is ours." Minho immediately connected his communication system. "Channel to observer ships open. We can send our message whenever you're ready." Taeho looked at Jiho, who nodded. They had prepared for this moment. "Attention alien observers," Jiho spoke clearly into the communication device. "This is the United Government of Earth. We have captured your command center and control your war creatures. Your experiment has failed. We demand direct communication with your leadership." They waited, tense seconds stretching into minutes. Then the system activated and a response came through. Minho's translation software converted it to text. Communication acknowledged. Query: how did primitive species achieve this outcome? Jiho, looked at Yun Kyung, who whispered advice in her ear. "We are not primitive," Jiho responded. "Your error was in assuming that technological development equals intelligence. Humanity's greatest strength is our adaptability and creativity. Your war creatures were impressive but predictable. You never stood a chance." Another pause, longer this time. Then, "This result is unprecedented. Request meeting with human representatives." Taeho and Jiho exchanged glances. This was better than they had hoped for. "We accept," Jiho answered. "Send 3 representatives to these coordinates in 7 days. They will not be harmed. We seek peaceful resolution." 1 week later, at a neutral location in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, the first face-to-face meeting between humans and aliens took place. The aliens had physical forms after all, tall, slender beings with features that suggested they evolved from aquatic creatures. Jiho led the human delegation, which included Taeho, Yun Kyung, and representatives from major world governments. The meeting was tense at first. The aliens struggled to understand human emotions and the concept of individual nations working together. But Yun Kyung's research proved invaluable as she helped bridge the cultural gap. "Your species is unique in our experience," the lead alien finally admitted. "We have tested our war creatures on 17 worlds. None responded as yours did." "Because you made a universal error," Jiho said. "You assumed that less advanced technology meant less intelligence. You saw our divisions as weakness, not realizing that our diversity gives us strength. And you thought we would respond like your other test subjects, following predictable patterns." The alien made a gesture that their translators interpreted as acknowledgement. "This error will be recorded. Earth will be marked as protected territory. No further tests will be conducted here." "That's not enough," Taeho said firmly. "We want recognition as equals. We want access to the knowledge of other worlds. And we want guarantees that no other primitive species will be subjected to your tests again." The aliens conferred among themselves, clearly surprised by these demands. "Your species advances quickly," the lead alien finally said. "Too quickly, perhaps, but we acknowledge your achievement. A formal treaty will be prepared." In the months that followed, Earth entered a new era. Alien knowledge accelerated human technology. The war creatures, now free from alien control, became integrated into Earth's ecosystem in unexpected ways. And humanity began preparing for its place among the stars. At a celebration marking the first anniversary of the treaty, Taeho raised a glass with his original team, Jun, Daesung, Hanwol, Sunmi, Woojin, Minho, Haeun, Jiho, and Yun Kyung. "To the universal error that saved humanity," he said. They all smiled, knowing that their victory had done more than save Earth. It had changed the universe's understanding of what made a species truly advanced. In the vast galaxy beyond, other civilizations received word of the humans, a supposedly primitive species that had defeated the most advanced war creatures in known space. Some felt fear, others, curiosity. All understood one thing clearly. Underestimating humans was a mistake no one should make again.